Welcome to your first key learning video. So each week there'll be a video for you to watch with all the key information from lessons and the things that you just need to learn and to know, ready for a test on these each week. So watch the video. Make sure you've got a key learning notebook, or you might want to use the little revision cards, but you need to make revision notes on this as you go, so at the end of the year you've got a revision guide with all the key information in it. So on your first video, it's just a little basic stuff that you did on your first test at the enrolment. So fractions, remember to add or subtract fractions, you need to find the common denominator. Multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators, you multiply the denominators. In C1 you're not allowed to use a calculator, so if you can cancel any numbers it will make it easier. So here the 6 and the 15 are both divisible by 3, so they cancel, so it becomes 2 times 4 over 5 times 5. You need to know the rule for dividing fractions, to flip the second fraction and then multiply. The proper word of course is reciprocal, so it may be that you use the phrase take the reciprocal for the second fraction and then multiply. Also from GCSE you will no doubt remember SOHCAHTOA. At A level, instead of calling it SOHCAHTOA, we'll call it trig, short for trigonometry. So sine theta is the opposite over hypotenuse. Spot the careless error to begin with. So it's opposite over hypotenuse. You need to know that cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse and that tan theta is the opposite. And there's another careless error there. Tan theta is the opposite over adjacent. So you've got 3 trig formulas that you need to learn. At GCSE you'll also have learnt the sine rule. So the sine rule comes in 3 parts. So you get sine rule is A over sine A, with a capital A because it's the angle, is equal to B over sine B, and that's equal to the third ratio of C over sine C. That's the one that you don't really need to use. So if you have a triangle, the way it's labelled, if this is A, this is capital A. So side A is opposite angle A. So this side divided by the sine of this side is equal to this side divided by the sine of this angle. You can flip the fractions as well. So if you were trying to find out the angle, instead of writing it this way up, you would write sine A over A is equal to sine B over B. So that's the sine rule, which you should also know from GCSE. Now the cosine rule you'll know from GCSE as well. The cosine rule you're actually given in the formula book. You'll become very familiar with the formula book, but for now, for this one, what you need to do is you need to go back to Dropbox. There's a folder in the Dropbox called Formula Books, and if you go into that you will find the formula book. You need to save somewhere the formula page for C1 and for C2. I suggest the easiest way to do it is probably to pull it up on your phone, take a photo of it, save it to your favourite so that you've always got that page of formula to hand. But before the test you'll need to make sure that you've got access to the formula book. It may be that you prefer to print off a paper copy and that you keep a paper copy with you in your college bag or in your maths book. So find the formula book and look up the cosine rule. You'll also need the other version of the cosine rule, and this version isn't in the formula book. So you need to either learn this version or be able to use the one in the formula book to find this out. So the other version you get, cos A is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. And again, labelling like you've got for this triangle here. So the third angle is angle C and the third side. So we've got the cos of this angle is equal to this b squared plus this side squared minus a squared divided by 2bc. So that's the cosine rule. You also then need to know a few other little things. You need to know about factorising. Now again, this was in your induction test. It's basically two different sorts of things to factorise, either where you've got two terms or where you have three terms, which we'll refer to as a three-term quadratic. So know that phrase, a three-term quadratic, which we call a 3TQ, three-term quadratic. So the two-term quadratics, first of all, either it will be the difference of two squares, so x squared minus y squared, 9x squared minus 16, so it's a x term and very often a constant with a minus sign in the middle. So x squared minus y squared becomes x minus y, x plus y. 9x squared minus 16, take the square root of that, 3x minus 4, 3x plus 4, and the signs are different. The other two-term quadratic that you get is where you have a common factor. So something like this, it's a two-term quadratic. I can take the x outside the bracket, so I get 3x, 2x plus y. So that's where you've got two terms. And then the three-term quadratic is the normal sort of factorising, and you need to be able to factorise both versions, both where the coefficient of x squared is 1 and the coefficient of x squared is a, and this again is a word that you need to know. So the coefficient of x squared is the number in front of it. So here the coefficient of x squared is 6. So know that vocabulary, know the term for three-term quadratic, 3TQ, and know the method for factorising two-term quadratics with difference of two squares, taking out a common factor, and then also make sure that you are able to factorise any type of quadratic, and some of those will also be on your key learning test.